Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is February 11th, 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, the Super League is dead. Yes, you heard that right. The Super League is dead after Real Madrid decided to end the project only a few days after Barcelona pulled out. Also, we do have the preview of tomorrow's semifinal against Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey. And finally, Ronald Araujo, he has opened up about his mental state and why he needed that time off. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Boo, and welcome to the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting the discussion going. For those of you who be watching, when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chats in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise from any football team or any sports team around the world, make sure to hit the Goal Kids, K-Bag, or Fanatics. If you're looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers courtesy of Barca News. All right, let's begin with the news. And of course, the first thing we got to talk about is the big elephant in the room because, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow is the first leg of the semifinals of the Copa del Rey, where Barcelona will face off against Atletico de Madrid at their own stadium. I know they changed their name. It used to be Wanda Metropolitano. I don't know what they changed it to. I don't really care what they changed it to, but nonetheless, it's an away match for Barcelona, the first leg of the semi-final. I'm very excited for that match because it's going to be a very entertaining one. I think whenever we play against Atletico Madrid is always an entertaining match. Plus, we're going to get to do it twice. Once away, and then again in March at home. And like I've said before, I think this is a good time to kind of test ourselves, to calibrate playing against a big team because what's coming up? Well, the knockout stages of the Champions League. So this is a good time to see where we at as far as facing off against bigger teams because so far, since the team improved, we really haven't played against any big clubs. I mean, we did play against Real Madrid in the Spanish Super Cup final, but of course, they are a small club. So we have to play against a bigger club to see where we are. Now, as far as the semifinal of the Copa del Rey, we do have bad news, followed by more bad news. I know. We're starting the podcast with bad news. But the first bad news is that, ladies and gentlemen, Rafinha has been ruled out of tomorrow's match. Now, as you know, Rafinha missed the matches against Albacete and Mallorca due to discomfort in his adductor muscle. He was supposed to be back this week, but nonetheless, he was doing individual training sessions. He wasn't training with the team. And during the individual training sessions, he wasn't feeling 100%. He's not in a lot of pain or anything, but he wasn't at 100%. And as a result, the medical staff decided, hey, let's not risk it. Can he play? Probably. But since he's not 100%, they've decided to rule him out. So Rafinha will not be available for tomorrow's match. Now, this was kind of something we saw coming because yesterday I told you about how Rafinha had not trained with the group yesterday. So it was unlikely that he was going to make it. And while today he also didn't train with the group, he once again trained by himself. So he will be out for sure. But now, this bad news gets even worse because guess who else won't be available for tomorrow's match? Well, it's no other than Marcus Rashford. Now, this is, of course, bad news because Rafinha is our left winger. If he's not available, it's Marcus Rashford who's supposed to take his place. But Rashford now is also not available. So definitely bad news. Now, Rashford received a knock against Mallorca. You guys might remember he was on the ground in pain. It looked like, maybe he's injured, but then he got up, he continued playing. Well, it seems that he's been suffering from some knee discomfort after that knock against Mallorca. It's not serious. It's not a serious injury. But Barcelona decided that they don't want to run any risks. It is the knee after all. It's a very sensitive area. So they don't want run any risks. So instead, Rashford today trained in the gym on his own away from the group. So he too is going to be unavailable for tomorrow's match. So of course, the question will be, who's going to play on the left wing? Now, we could maybe see Fermin Lopez. We've seen Fermin Lopez in the left wing before, right? Frankie de Jong is back, is healthy. He's recovered from that pubic discomfort that he had, and that's why he missed the Mallorca match. So we can maybe see Frankie de Jong and Marc Casado in a double pivot with Dani Olmo as our attacking mid. And maybe see, Fermin Lopez on the left wing. Maybe Ferran Torres can play on the left wing with Robert Lewandowski as the starting center forward. We do have some options. Obviously, it's not great because none of those options are actual left wingers. But nonetheless, we do have some options. We'll see, of course, what Flick will choose. Now, speaking of Flick, we do have to talk about his pre-match press conference because Flick threw a little jab at Real Madrid, at that small third-tier club called Real Madrid, because Hansi Flick, during the press conference, was asked by some reporter, who said, what do you have to say to people who are kind of not, what's the word that I'm looking for? What do you have to say to people who are kind of like undermining? There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Undermining Barcelona's achievement of making it to the semifinals of the Copa del Rey, since they truly haven't, played against any first division teams. Right? We played against Albacete. Before that, we played against Racing de Santander. Before that, we played against Guadalajara, right? All second and third division teams, none of them first division teams. So the reporter asked, hey, what do you have to say to those people who trying to undermine Barcelona arriving in the semifinal, qualifying to the semifinal, since they haven't played against any first division teams? And Hansi Flick smirked, looked at the camera and said, ask Real Madrid. And that was his response to that question. And I mean, he's right? Because I've actually been hearing this a lot from Real Madrid media, from the Real Madrid content creators and social media accounts talking about, oh, Barcelona made it to the semifinal, but they haven't even played against any first division teams. Yeah, neither did you. And you got knocked out in the quarterfinals. So tell me, how is it not playing against first division teams and getting knocked out better than not playing against first division teams and making it to the semifinal? Someone explain that to me, because I don't seem to understand the logic. But again, as we've seen, Madridistas, very devout of any kind of logic. I mean, the other day at the Chiringuito, this Edu Carreño, this clown that they have there, the pundit, talking about how Mbappe was so much better than Lamine. He's like, yeah, he's not winning, but he scores goal. He scored a goal in the Spanish Super Cup final. He scored a goal in this match, but he's not winning. But he's still scoring goals, so he's better than Lamine. And I'm sitting there and thinking, all right, hold on. How is scoring goals and not winning better than scoring goals and winning? Because that's what Lamine is doing. He's scoring in those matches and winning the trophies. Mbappe is only scoring but not winning those trophies. So how is scoring and not winning better than scoring and winning? And this is the same thing. How is not playing against any first division teams and getting knocked out better than not playing against any first division teams but making it to the semifinal? I mean, we seriously live in a time where just logic, reason, thinking is just artifacts of the past. I mean, social media has truly given rise to stupidity. It's amplified stupidity where now people can just say whatever the fuck they want and without even thinking about it. And it's like stupidity is just on the rise. It's like a pandemic. It's insane. But anyways, later on, Hansi Flick clarified his statement, and this is what the German coach had to say. It doesn't help me to talk about Real Madrid. I thought it was the right response because we have to respect the second and third division teams in the cup who have had a fantastic cup run. It's about respecting your opponents. The other teams have qualified. They have the quality, and they have shown that they can beat first division teams. That's all there is to it. I just have to focus on my club, my team, my fans, and that's all I'm interested in. The rest is just a waste of energy. So great response by Hansi Flick, who with his first answer, pretty much threw a jab at Madrid, but now he's throwing a jab at these journalists who are asking this stupid question. No, what do you think that, it's not really an impressive run because you didn't play against any first division teams. Yeah, but in doing that, you're pretty much spitting in the face of those second and third division teams like Albacete, who knocked out Real Madrid. And you're saying, what, it's not impressive what they did because they're not first division? It's like, bro, think about what the fuck you ask. I mean, it's like there's no standards when it comes to football media. Sports media, it's like they have a completely separate standards for them. Like, let's like the regular journalistic standards, they just don't apply to sports journalists or football journalists. Why? I don't know. When did it become like that? I don't know. But think. That's all I got to say. Anyways, let's do the comment section, which is my favorite part. This is why I love the podcast, because I get to read you guys' comments and respond to them live. But let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about the Super League, because in yet another loss, another defeat to the clown, Florentino Perez, the Super League is now officially dead. Rest in peace. Let me see. Ooh, I was going to say, where did we leave off? But we didn't leave off anywhere because we're barely starting. Andrea says, let's go. I love the comment section. Ahmad says, hey, Mo, how are you feeling today? What's your thoughts on signing Harry Kane or Pedro Guy from Chelsea? How am I feeling? I'm getting sick. It sucks. I don't know how or why. I'm getting a cold. I've been sneezing all day. My nose has been running like crazy. It's like freaking Niagara Falls over here. But I hope you guys are doing much better than me. What do I think about signing Harry Kane or Joao Pedro from Chelsea? I think Joao Pedro is an incredible player. I would love to have him in Barcelona, but not as a 9 because he's not truly a 9. He is playing as a number 9 for Chelsea, but he's not truly a pure center forward. But nonetheless, I would love to have him on the team because he is a very exciting player to watch. Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane will be an amazing signing. And yes, he is 33 or 34. But I think he still has another 2 or 3 seasons in him. And given the club's financial situation, I think it will be an incredible signing. His release clause is 60 million euros. And to bring a world-class striker with the experience that Harry Kane has for 60 million, I think it will be, a great deal. Obviously not ideal. I would much rather sign, someone in their prime like Haaland. But guess what? We can't afford that, right? So we have to live by our means, right? We have to stick to our reality. And I think signing Harry Kane for 2-3 seasons, I think it will be absolutely incredible. But of course, it doesn't look like he wants to leave. It looks like he wants to stay in Bayern Munich. I guess he likes German beer better than Spanish beer. I do like Estrella Galicia, but I guess it doesn't really compete with German beer. Anyways, teach their own. And Mama Shane with a donation. Thank you so much, my friend, for your donation, for your incredible generosity, and for always supporting the channel. Bashin says, looking forward to seeing again how deep our team goes. How low does it go? How low does it go? This time at left wing, regardless of what happens, win or lose. As a fan, I got my eyes on bigger prizes like La Liga and Champions League. Bisca Barça, Motato Chip. Well, thank you, my friend, again for your donation. And yes, this is where we see how well our team plays as a unit, right? Because when you build a team that works together as a unit, that functions as a unit, not as 11 individual players, it becomes less pronounced when you have substitutions or changes, right? If you take out one guy and bring in the other, you might feel a little bit the difference in quality or skill, but it's not as pronounced as when you have 11 individual players. For example, when we used to play under Xavi Hernandez, we were 11 individual players as opposed to one unit. So when someone would get injured, Pedri or Lamine or whomever, you would truly see the difference. But now, not as much because it's a unit. And when you have everyone playing as a unit, everybody makes up for the other, right? One makes a mistake, another guy can make up for that mistake by covering his back. So it becomes less pronounced when you lose your starters or when you make substitutions or when you bring in an academy player. So yes, tomorrow is a test for that. I think it's most likely going to be Fermin because we've seen Fermin play in the left wing. He's usually done a good job, not an excellent job because he's not a winger. Obviously, he does much better as an attacking midfielder, but nonetheless, he still does a good job as a left winger. Now, would I prefer to have Rashford or Rafinha over Fermin? Of course, but they're not available, so we gotta make do. And I think Fermin would be a good option. But of course, we'll see. Maybe it's gonna be Ferran, maybe Rooney Bardghji on the left, even though I doubt it since it is a big game. But we'll see. We'll see. Barca Mama says it's hump day. 2 more days until a 3-day weekend. Not for me. Not for me. I don't get that many days off or official holidays. Like, for example, I know there was Martin Luther King in January. We didn't take that off. They don't give us at work President's Day or Veterans Day or Easter or what other holidays that you people get that we don't. We get very few. We get just like the big ones like Christmas, New Year's, Labor Day, and I think Memorial Day, and of course Thanksgiving, and that's it. All the other ones we don't get. But enjoy your 3-day weekend. I'll enjoy my 2-day weekend. I truly believe we need to move on to a 3-day weekend system. I mean, they did that in a lot of Scandinavian countries, and productivity has actually gone up because 3 days, people have more time to spend with their family, to relax, to rest, and as such, they're happier. They're less stressed. And guess what? A happy, not stressed worker performs a lot better than one that's not. Even if the one that's not happy and stressed works longer days. But anyways, what do I know? Jose Fernandez says, hey, Bo, happy to be here. Your prediction for our left wing for tomorrow. So I just mentioned I think it's going to be Fermin, but we could also see Ferran. I guess we'll wait and see. B4K Chema says, what's up, Mo? Ready for tomorrow's match? Going to be really good. Any thoughts on Chelsea trying to sign Ferran for 80 mil? I haven't heard anything official about that. I wouldn't be surprised if they are, but I haven't heard anything official. You know, there's always rumors in the market, of course. I don't see Chelsea or any team wanting to spend 80 million on Ferran, to be honest, because I don't think he's worth 80 million. But if it does somehow materialize and become real, I mean, I would sell him in a heartbeat for 80 mil. But of course, Ferran is not going to leave. Okay, Ferran didn't want to leave when he wasn't getting a single minute. Remember on the Xavi? He wasn't getting a single minute, and the club was pushing him out and wanting to sell him, and he didn't want to leave. He's definitely not going to leave now where he's actually getting minutes and being important for Flake and scoring goals. So it's just not going to happen. But, yeah, I would take 80 million for Ferran in a heartbeat. I would take 40 million for Ferran, let alone friggin' 80 mil. Let's see. Let's do one more comment, and then we'll do the next bit of news. But Marcus says, hey, Mo, I was really impressed with Hansi Flick responses today. He has a way of delivering drama, and he has respect for every opponent. 100%. I think Hansi Flick's press conferences are so impressive. He's so well composed. He gives very short answers, no nonsense, no beating around the bush, no getting into trouble with his responses. Like, he's a really polished guy, and he knows how to handle the press. And that's something that I complained a lot about Xavi. Remember Xavi's press conferences? It was like, it was like watching a train wreck. It's like, yo, does Barcelona not have a communication department that could sit down with Xavi and be like, look, this is the kind of questions we expect during this press conference. This is what you should avoid saying. This is how you should, dance around these answers because that's what these communication departments do, right? They're professionals. They know how to give it's like, yo, does he not go through this? Like, what the hell's going on? But anyways, that's the thing in the past. I don't want to keep bringing it up because then we have the crybabies. Xavi was amazing. He won us 1 league title in like 3 seasons. That's so great. Anyways, I like making fun of Xavi apologists. Let's do the news because, ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Cue the sad music, cue the memorial music because the Super League, Florentino Perez's pet project, is officially dead in the water Like many of Florentino Perez's projects, another failure added to the long list of failures of Florentino, including the stadium, the concerts at that stadium, the parking lot at the stadium, the pitch at the stadium, the cost and the length of the construction project at the stadium, the sporting project, the debt of the club, and now you add to it his pet and personal project, the Super League, because Real Madrid has officially withdrawn from it. And as such, there are no clubs left in the Super League, and it is dead. Dead, dead, dead as my dreams of becoming a football player. Just kidding. I never had those dreams. I always knew I sucked. But I still enjoy playing. Anyways, let's talk about the Super League, because if you don't know what the Super League is because you've been living under a rock or you don't follow the Barca News channel, don't worry. I'm going to tell you what it is. The Super League, of course, was a breakaway league where 12 clubs decided to establish the Super League. This, of course, was Florentino Perez's project, and he's the one who pitched it to these other clubs. And together we had the 12 founding clubs, who were the three top clubs from La Liga: Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. The three big clubs from the Serie A: Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Juventus. And the top 6 clubs from the Premier League: Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool, and Manchester City. And the point of this league initially was to have, just like a regular league, like La Liga, it would be a group of 20 clubs. 12 of them are these founding members. And then the other 8 would be rotating clubs. Like every season would be different clubs that would join this Super League. And of course, just like a regular league, all these 20 clubs would play against each other twice, once at home, once away. And the club with the most points will be the champion, right? That was going to be the Super League. It's supposed to be an alternative to the Champions League, a competition where the biggest clubs of Europe would play against each other twice every season, and where these clubs would have more control over the profits, right? Because they are the founders. So they get to share the profits as they like, as opposed to the Champions League, where you're at the mercy of UEFA. Now, within 48 hours, as soon as this was announced, this project, there was a lot of backlash. UEFA announced that they would kick these 12 clubs out of the Champions League, that they would impose fines. There was a lot of backlash from the fans. I remember the Liverpool fans, for example, hanging a big sign saying for sale outside the Liverpool facilities. A lot of backlash. So within 48 hours of announcing this project, pretty much 9 teams dropped out immediately. And the only 3 clubs left was Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus. Eventually, Juventus dropped out. And, well, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago, Barcelona announced that they were withdrawing as well, leaving Real Madrid on their own with the Super League project. And, well, today, lo and behold, Real Madrid posted the following statement on their Twitter account and their website saying, UEFA, European football clubs, and Real Madrid CF reach agreement for the good of European club football. I love this. For the good of European football. No. This is not for the good of European club football. This is because everybody left you alone, okay? But anyways, following months of discussions conducted in the best interests of European football, UEFA, European Football Clubs, EFC, before it used to be known as the ECA, the European Clubs Association, and Real Madrid CF announces that they have reached an agreement of principles for the well-being of European club football, respecting the principles of sporting merit with emphasis on long-term club sustainability and the enhancement of fan experience through the use of technology. So a bunch of words that mean absolutely nothing. That means everybody abandoned me, so I have no other option but to end this project. But yes, let's pretend it's for the good of football, right? It's like nobody invites you to the cool kids party and you say, you know what, I don't want to go to the party because I want to be responsible, right? Tomorrow I have work early and, I don't want to drink and, I'm trying to be healthy. And it's like, no, bro, you're not going because no one invited you, not because you're trying to be responsible. Same thing here, Madrid. Everybody abandoned you, Florentino Perez. Nobody wanted to deal with you and your bullshit. So you have no option But to cancel this project, it's not because of the good of football. So another loss, another L for Florentino Perez, who continues to lose his grip over football. And that's, of course, is driving him crazy because let's be honest, Florentino Perez is a tyrant. He rules Madrid as a tyrant. What he says goes. Nobody else can say anything. And he runs the club however he wants. He wants full control over not just Real Madrid, but of Spanish football, right? We've seen many examples of that. That's why last season, when all first division and second division clubs met with the Royal Spanish Football Federation, La Liga, to discuss the refereeing problems, Real Madrid did not show up. And instead, they held their own meeting, private meeting, to discuss the refereeing problems with the Royal Spanish Football Federation in La Liga, because Florentino Perez wants to control it all. And the Super League was his way of controlling European football, right? Because his control was just on Spain. He wanted control over European football by starting his own project, the Super League. But now he won't be able to achieve that. And, well, he's also losing grip of Spanish football. So another L for Florentino Perez to add to the long list of L's, including the stadium, the sporting project of Real Madrid, the debt of the club, and now the Super League. Florentino, my man, just retire, bro. You're embarrassing yourself. I mean, you're not tired at this point of embarrassing yourself. Now, of course, what do I expect out of this whole thing? Negreira news incoming. Be ready, because has been the same MO. Every time Florentino loses something, next day, all of a sudden, we're talking about the newest smoking gun in the Negreira case. And it's usually either recycled old news or nothing. Like, remember when Valverde testified about the reports? Smoking gun! He never read them. That means they don't exist. Yeah, okay. So many smoking guns. I mean, no wonder it's global warming, right? But anyways, let's do the comment section. And as we do the comment section, let's all laugh at this old decrepit man who continues to lose grip of power in Spain. And afterwards, we're going to talk about Hamza Abdelkarim, because we do have an update about Barcelona's newest signing. I'm very excited about these signings, by the way. Someone was like, oh, Mo, we can't keep signing young, promising players. Yeah, okay, that's a problem. Let's not sign promising players because, you know, God help us. All right, let's see. Let's read more comments. And we do have another donation from Shit. Thank you so much, my friend, for your generosity. But Shit says, I miss your Monday podcast. Unfortunately, my new job has me very busy, even in the evenings. So I miss what you said about Laporta resigning. What's your opinion? Stock up or stock down in the aftermath for our club? Well, thank you, my friend, for your donation again. And congratulations again on your new job, on your new position, and your increased pay. That's absolutely amazing. You deserve it. But what happened is, or what I said, which, by the way, caused a lot of people to have meltdown in the comment section. I don't get it. Why are people so obsessed with having some stranger on YouTube agree with them? It's like, agree with me. Laporta's amazing. And it's like, why, bro? Like, hey, if you love Laporta, that's cool. Support him. Why do you care if I agree with you or not? Like, form your opinion and stick to it. Like, I don't get it. But anyways, what I think is it's been a very mixed presidency for me. As opposed to the first term of Laporta, where he did amazing things, and overall it was a great term for him during the early 2000s. This one, for me, it's been a mixed bag. It's not as clear or as great as these Laporta apologists are, right? You go like, you mean, you listen to these people speak and you think Laporta's Jesus Christ or the Messiah or something. And for me, it's a mixed bag because, yes, he's done great things, but he's also done a lot of bad things. And that's why it's a mixed bag. Good things. You know, he's reduced Barca's expenses. He's gotten rid of a lot of the big contracts like, like PK and, all these veterans, the old guard, right? And those contracts were a drain on the club. He pushed through the deal to finance the stadium renovation. That was important. He's been undefeated when it comes to sponsorships. With the Nike renegotiating the Nike deal, the Spotify deal, 30 plus other sponsorships. I mean, absolutely a win, unmatched. He's also done a great job with the BLM, the Barca licensing and merchandising. It's skyrocketed with all the sales of merchandise now that it's global, not just in Europe. So a lot of great things. But he's also done a lot of bad things, right? That stadium, it's going to open in November, December, February, May, August, October. Why the lies? The whole exodus of more than 30 executive members of his board, and him not only not replacing them, but instead surrounding himself with his buddies and running the club in a very unprofessional manner. It is just him and his buddies, and they make all the decisions, and nobody knows what's going on, and nobody knows what the position of his buddies are, or whether they're getting paid or what the hell. Some dubious things like the 50 million euros paid to that, what's his name, to negotiate the Nike deal as an intermediary. What's his name? I forgot his name. It's been a mixed bag for me. A mixed bag. What happened with Xavi Hernandez? Oh, he resigns. I beg him to stay, and then I fire him, right? Bring in Deco, a guy with zero experience as a sporting director, just because it's his buddy also. Thankfully now Deco brought Joao Amaral, and it looks like things are working out much better because Joao Amaral actually has a lot of years of experience in this world. Losing talent because he refuses to listen to it, like Alemany and Jordi Cruyff. And so it's been a mixed bag for me. And this is why I said I want to listen to the rest of the candidates, see what they have to offer. And if anyone convinces me, I'll vote for them. And if not, I'll still vote for Laporta, right? That's all I said. I was like, I'm keeping an open mind. I'm listening to everybody. And then once I've listened to what everybody has to offer, I'll pick. But no, people are like, Laporta, vote for Laporta. Please, agree with me. Like, there's this guy who was literally replying to his own comments. Like, comment. It's like, bro, chill. All right, we get it. You like Laporta. Great. Vote for him. Nobody's going to tell you not to. But anyways, that's my opinion. I know it's pretty long, but I also see that Shin has gifted 5 membership. Thank you so much, my friend, again, for your generosity. And we see that Billy Mack received a membership. Ark received a membership. Mustafa received a membership as well. Ibez 3 also received a membership. And then Sour Tree Corton also received a membership. Thank you again, Shane, for your incredible generosity. Welcome to our newest members. This Saturday, we'll be doing the MoCast, the podcast exclusive for members only. And of course, make sure you join the Discord page. The link is on the community tab. It's only visible to members. Not Discord page, Discord server. But the link is on the community tab. It's only visible to members. Just make sure that you're logged into your Discord account with the same email that you're logged into your YouTube account. Otherwise, Discord will not recognize you as a member, and it will not let you in. But thank you again, Shane, for the donations and for your generosity with the memberships. Welcome to our newest members. And with that, let's do a couple more comments, and then we'll talk about Hamza Abdelkarim, because we do have an update about Hamza. Let's see. Nolson says, hi, Mo. Trust you keeping well. What's your thoughts on tomorrow's line as Rashford isn't going to play? Do you think Cancelo or Fermin comes in for him? I think Fermin, but Cancelo could be an option maybe in the second half. Could be. But I think it's going to be Fermin because that's usually what we've seen Flick opt out for, right? He's usually opted out for Fermin as kind of like the backup of the backup when it comes to the left wing. Edwin says, who are you starting next to Frankie? So that, again, it's going to depend on who we play in the left wing, right? Because if we don't play Fermin, I would do Frankie, Olmo. We've seen Olmo does much better in the double pivot than the attacking mid. And Fermin, right? That would be my triangle in the midfield. Frankie, Olmo, Fermin. But if we play Fermin in the left wing, so now we need Olmo in the attacking mid. So now we're going to have to bring in Casado. And it could be Casado, Frankie, Olmo as an attacking mid, and then bring in Bernal. Because I don't know if Bernal is still ready to start and play 90 minutes of such an intense match in a semifinal against Atletico de Madrid. If Bernal was healthy, of course, I would say Frankie Bernal and Olmo. Easy peasy. But since I don't really know the condition of Bernal, or if you want to risk him against Atletico Madrid, it's going to be an intense match, then I would do Frankie, Casado, Olmo, and then you can bring in Bernal later on, and it could be Frankie, Bernal, Olmo. Let's see. One more. Night Game says it's so unfortunate we will be missing our best player, Rafinha, and even his backup Rashford, but Flick will figure something out, and I still believe we will win. Exactly, my friend. Exactly. In Flick, we believe. And Klaus says, Dusan Vlahovic has been giving me terrible nightmares. I wake up shouting, Dusan, no. How could you miss that? Honestly, I'm not like excited about Dusan. It's not like, yeah, sign him. Let's fucking go. I'm going to go buy his shirt as soon as we sign him. But I think it could be a good option. I mean, again, I would much rather, someone else. But given our situation, we have to make do with what we can afford, right? And Dusan will be free. He's willing to reduce his salary to come to Barcelona. He's still in his prime. He's 25 years old. We've seen him do great things at Fiorentina and at Juventus at the beginning. So we know he's capable of things. And again, he's still in his prime. So if there's anyone that can turn the situation around for him, I think it's Flick. I mean, shit. Flick turned Ferran into the shark. Can you imagine what it takes to turn Ferran into a shark or into any predator, period? Even if it's like a raccoon. Well, are raccoons considered predators? I'm sure they prey on someone. But, that's that takes a miracle. But anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news because speaking of strikers, we do have to talk about Barcelona's newest signing, Hamza Abdelkarim, the Egyptian gem, a player that's considered the most promising talent to come out of Egypt since Mo Salah. Now, Hamza Abdelkarim, of course, he's 18 years old. He's a center forward. Is technically property of Al Ahly. He's still an Al Ahly player. He has signed for Barcelona on loan until the end of the season with Barca Athletic, with an option to buy worth around 3 million with some variables. And if he does end up impressing, Barcelona plan to activate that option and keep him on a permanent basis. Now, Hamza Abdelkarim is officially training with Barca Athletic. He has yet to debut with Barca Athletic. They're saying it probably might take another month or two. Some of it is bureaucratic, getting him his license and blah, blah, blah to play. The other part is, of course, adapting, right? Because it's not just adapting to Spanish football, which is completely different than what they play in Egypt, but you're also adapting to Barca style, which is a very unique style, something that, is very, very different to many other styles and something that it takes time to learn it and implement it into your game. So we're probably not going to see what just happened. Do you guys still see what the hell? What happened to my, what? You guys stopped seeing the slideshow, right? It's like it just disappeared out of nowhere. That is so weird. Anyways, we'll keep talking and then I'll figure it out while we're doing the comment section. But Hamza Abdelkarim has began training with Barca Athletic, and he is completely surprising his coaches. And that says a lot because there was already talks of, Hamza. He was impressing obviously in Egypt, considered the most promising talent to come out of Egypt since Mo Salah. So there was already high expectations of him. And yet, despite those high expectations, he is impressing his coaches. He's impressing them with his technical abilities, his control, and his shots. And that, of course, says wonderful things about our newest signing because, again, there was already high expectations. Like, we already knew he was good. But then to come to the club and people look at him and they're like, oh, my God, he's really, really, really good. That, of course, is Very, very exciting. We'll see how Hamza will continue to develop at Barcelona. And of course, we'll keep track of his growth. There it is. Found it. Ha 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 ha. But anyways, Hamza Abdelkarim, should we do a reaction video? Let me know in the comment section. I could technically do it today because there is no more news after this podcast. So let me know. Let me know. And now let's get back to the comment section after that hiccup. I always get hiccups, man. Fuck. What the hell? When am I going to learn? Mike Valencia says those pundits have their brains in their asses. Yes, they do. Yes, if they have brains at all. But anyways. Zach Urban says we'll win 4-2. Won't be an easy match. My prediction, Mo. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I like this prediction. I think you mean 2-4. We're playing away. Dorian says, hey, Mo, can't wait for the semifinal against Atletico Madrid. This will be a big test for us, especially for the Champions League, to see what we need to work on and improve. Hopefully we win Bisca Barca. I agree, my friend, with you. And yes, hopefully we get an important and convincing victory tomorrow. And Mariano says, Ronald Araujo also commented on Julian Alvarez that made Atletico Madrid base angry. We'll talk about Ronald Araujo in the next segment. I think he had an incredible interview that sheds a lot of light to not just what he was going through, but other things, a lot of repercussions. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Barca Mama says, courts are closed. You should have the day off. I wish. But yeah, unfortunately, at my firm, we don't really take that many days off. Plus with the work, that amount of work that I have. Usually those holidays where everyone else is off, because I'm sure everybody, not just the courts, everyone, all the providers that we work with are also closed. That's usually when we get to catch up a little bit, because I have a lot of cases, man. I have a lot of cases. My firm is in the process of hiring someone else, another attorney, but it's a lot of work. But Adriano says, Araujo says Julian should play big club like Barca. I don't know if he said that. I saw the interview, unless I missed it. I don't know. But I can't see Araujo saying something like that, like Julian should play in a big club like Barca. I could see him saying, hey, we would love to have Julian because he's an incredible player. But saying he should play for a big club like Barca, that's insinuating that Atletico Madrid are not a big club. And I don't see Araujo doing something like that, like insulting another club. You know, he's not a Madrid player. If he was a Madrid player, yeah, you could expect anything to come out of those people's mouths. You know, it's like they go through a special training on how to be obnoxious. You know, Bellingham and Vinicius and Mbappe. I just don't see Araujo said that. I didn't see it, at least, and I saw a lot of parts of the interview. I didn't see that part. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. But anyways, N60 says, is that a 0 or a no? No, I think that's a no. N60. Worried with no left winger and without Pedri, I think Olmo on the wing is better than Fermin. I don't think so. I'm not saying he's a bad option. I don't know if he's better than Fermin on the left wing. But, I mean, either way, the two of them are not wingers, left wingers. So either way, it's just not ideal, right? But I think in Flick we trust, and I'm sure he'll come up with a proper solution for tomorrow. Edward says, hi, Mo, who do you think will start in the place of Rashi and Rafinha tomorrow? I'm pretty sure Lewy starts up top, but who is on the left? Like I said, I think it'd probably be Fermin, maybe Ferran. Let's see. Uzi says, I forgot I'm a member despite not being online lately. Yes, my friend, you are. And Seregoa says, hi, Mo and everyone. What's up, Seregoa? Thank you for joining. And Michael, all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. Let's go. The Caribbean in the house. And KKPW says, hello from Boston. All right, Boston. I was just talking about Boston today because I have a friend visiting, I think next month. And she's never been to Boston. And I'm like, you know what? Next time you come, I'm going to take you to Boston because she's already been in New York. And I was like, you know, you already saw New York. Next time you come, we'll take a weekend off. We'll go to Boston. We'll eat some Dunkin' Donuts. Just kidding. You can eat Dunkin' Donuts anywhere. Plus, they're gross. And yeah. So I was talking about Boston. But thank you for watching, my friend. Messi Super Ballon d'Or says Ferran is more can of tuna. When you go from Henry, Eto'o, Messi, and Neymar, Suarez, Messi to Rafinha, Tuna, Lamine, you immediately see the imposter. Yeah, man. I remember when I said that once. This guy just like every video, he would just like go ham in the comment section. Ferran is the best. Ferran is the best. I'm like, what the fuck you talking about, bro? Like, seriously, how do you go from, the likes of Henri and Luis Suarez and, Lewandowski to Ferran? It just doesn't fit. But anyways, to each their own. To each their own. Yummy Dada says, hey Mo, thanks for all you do, bro. No, thank you, my friend. And with that, let's do the last bit of news because Ronald Araujo gave a very interesting interview where he spoke about his mental state and why he needed that time off. Now, as you know by now, we talked about it a lot. After that red card against Chelsea in the Champions League, Ronald Araujo started having, some, I guess, anxiety or depression, some mental problems, and he decided to take some time off. He left. He spoke to the club. He explained his situation. The club were incredibly understanding, and they said, take your time, however much time you need to recover. And he initially left the country, went to on a spiritual trip, and then he went back to Uruguay, spent Christmas there with his family, and then finally came back. And ever since, he's been training with the team. He even scored a goal against... Who did he score a goal against? Albacete, right? Yeah, Albacete. And now Araujo has spoken and opened up about what he was going through and why he needed some time off. And this is what... Oh, wrong one. This is what the Uruguayan defender had to say. It was a combination of things. I hadn't been feeling well for a long time, maybe more than a year and a half. That's an interesting bit that we didn't know. You try to be strong, but I felt that I wasn't well. Not only on a sporting level, but also on a family and personal level. I wasn't feeling myself. And that was when I clicked and said, something is happening. I need to raise my hand and ask for help. Also very important, something I want to focus on. I'm one of those people who keep everything to myself, but you also have to understand that there are professionals who can help you. I needed to raise my hand and say that something was happening to me in order to recover. In the moment, you feel sad, but then when the game is over, it all hits you. I already felt that I wasn't well. That's the truth. But out of inertia, you try to keep going, and sometimes you need help. I had been suffering from anxiety for a year and a half, which turned into depression, and I was playing like that. That doesn't help because you don't feel like yourself on the field. When I wasn't feeling well, I knew something was going on. That day, I realized that I needed to talk to professionals in the club so they could help me. So, a lot of things I want to take from these statements. The number one and most important is the asking for help part. Because Araujo admits that, hey, he tried to push through it. He tried to be strong. He tried to just ignore it. But eventually he realized that he couldn't ignore it anymore. And he decided to raise his hand and ask for help. And that is incredibly, incredibly important. And I applaud Ronald Araujo for his honesty, for talking about this, for opening up about this, and for shining a light on this. Because for the longest time, mental health has been a taboo in all societies across the world, right? We think about mental health like, oh, you're just being a pussy, right? You're just being a little bitch. Like, suck it up and push through. But that is an incredibly unhealthy and ignorant thing to say and to think. Because the mind is part of the body. And when the mind is ill, you need to take care of it. Same with the body, right? If you break your leg, you don't go around walking on it just so you're not a pussy or just so you can man up and suck it up, right? No, you go to the hospital, they put a cast on you, and you let your leg heal. And once it's healed, you can walk on it again. Well, the mind is no different. And when you're not feeling well mentally speaking, whether it's anxiety, depression, whatever it may be, you can't just not be, a pussy or a bitch or whatever you might call it. You need help. And it's very, very important. And I'm glad that more people are speaking up about it and telling others, hey, That's okay. It's okay not to be okay because we all go through this. We all have our ups and downs. No matter how strong you think you are, no matter how well, put together you think you are, we all go through ups and downs. And it's important that when we're going through our downs to ask for help because a lot of times you can't do it alone. It takes a village. So I'm very happy that Araujo was able to recognize that. I'm very glad that Araujo was able to ask for help because that's usually the most difficult part. And I'm even more glad that he's willing to share his experience because Araujo has a worldwide stage. Millions of people are going to listen to this. And out of those millions of people, those who are going through something might be able to say, well, shit, maybe I do need to ask for help. Maybe it's okay to ask for help. And it is. I'm here to tell you that it is. I have anxiety and I don't shy away from it. I just started a few years ago. I think it was in 2021. And I sought help. I got professional help. I got put on medication. And it's completely changed my life because at some point when I first got the anxiety in 2021, it was at a point where I couldn't function. Like I couldn't do my work. I would just sit there. And as much as I would try to do my work, I would just be out of it. And had I not sought help, that could have easily derailed into something much worse, right? It's kind of like the leg example. Your leg might be broken and you might just need a cast, but if you keep walking on it, that's going to get worse. And then eventually when you do treat it, you're going to need a surgery so they can put metal rods and screws and metal plates in your leg because you didn't treat it on time and it got worse. Maybe you even end up losing the leg altogether and they chop it off. So the same thing is with mental health. And it's very, very important to seek help because the mind is also part of the body. And when you're sick, you need to heal. And it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to ask for help. And I'm happy that Araujo did. And I'm happy that Araujo is willing to talk about it. Now, another thing I want to talk about, this is now about more back to football, is that he's talking about that he was feeling like that for a year and a half. And not in a strange, weird, maybe a little bit twisted way. It kind of gives me some relief. Because this whole time we were thinking, shit, maybe Araujo just sucks and doesn't fit in Flick's system. But if Araujo's saying that he's been depressed for a year and a half, then maybe that's what it explains his underperformance. And this is why I say it gives me some relief. Because maybe he does fit in Flick's system. Maybe he can be a great asset for Flick's defense. And he was just simply not going through a good moment, mentally speaking. Because mental health affects your physical performance, right? So in that regards, maybe it does give me some relief that, hey, maybe Araujo was that great defender that we all remember from the Xavi era, and he was just not simply going through a bad time, mentally speaking. And finally, the last thing I want to mention here about his statements is, what is it? Where'd it go? I think that was it, actually, from these first two slides. That's all I wanted to talk about. The importance of asking for help. And of course, football speaking, maybe Araujo is still that great defender that he is. He simply was just going through a bad time, mentally speaking. Now, Araujo also talked about how he sought help and what was the reaction of the club. And this is what Araujo had to say. First, I spoke to Deco because he's the sporting director and he's close to us. I told him what was happening to me. At first, he was a little surprised because it's not very common for a Barcelona player to tell him these things. But he took it very well in a very personal way. From the very first minute, Deco called the president and the coach. They were spectacular. I'm very grateful to Deco, the president, the coach, and also to the people behind the scenes who you might not see, who are part of our day-to-day lives. The club gave me everything I needed to recover. I love that, by the way. Más que un club, ladies and gentlemen. He took it very personally, speaking about Flick. Flick knows my condition, and it was clear that I wasn't performing at my best. He knew something was going on. From the beginning, he sent me messages telling me to take my time recovering, that the most important thing was to get through it well. So that was the reaction, ladies and gentlemen, of Deco, Laporta, Flick. Flick and the club, who when Araujo came and said, hey, I'm going through this, I have depression, I have anxiety, they weren't thinking, yo, we're paying you all this money, I don't give a shit, you better perform. They said, no, mental health is a lot more important, your well-being is a lot more important, so take your time. And that's exactly what Araujo did. He took his time, he recovered, and he's feeling well now, because later on in the interview, he also mentioned about how he's doing so much better, that he's recovered from what he was going through. In this, again, just goes to show what an amazing club that we are, what an amazing people that we have within our club, like Flick, like Laporta and Deco, who were understanding, because they could have easily said, I don't care, bro. We pay you millions. Figure it out, but you're playing. But they did it. And that is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, Araujo also talked about how part of his anxiety and depression came from how his family was being treated. He talked about how one night he was sitting with his wife drinking mate, and she started tearing up. And when he asked her what happened, is that she was on her cell phone, and she saw comments on her social media of people wishing death to their daughters. And that shook me. And that's why I didn't include the statements, because we live in an era of social media where, unfortunately, instead of bringing us together, it has brought a lot of ugliness into the surface. And I mean, to be so twisted and so disgusting to wish little kids death, kids that you've never met, death over a sport. I mean, what has happened to us as a society? That's insane to me. I mean, you could criticize the player. You could say, hey, this player sucks performance-wise. But to wish his kids death? My God. When did we lose our humanity? No, I did like what Araujo's response was to that, because he could have easily said, well, I'm going to fuck him up, I'm going to protect my family. But instead, he said in an interview, he's like, but I told my wife that we need to learn how to deal with that. And I think that's very important, because I think a lot of times in our day and age, we forget to teach our kids how to deal with these situations. Instead, we try to protect them and, kind of like isolate them from that. But I think a much better lesson is to teach them how to deal with those situations, instead of shielding them from the bad situations, because eventually they're going to go into the world on their own. And eventually they will have to face those bad situations, because unfortunately there are bad people out there with ill intentions. And I think it's a much better thing to teach our kids how to deal with those bad situations, rather than just shield them and try to prevent that bad situation. And then when they're adults and they come across those bad situations, all of a sudden they're like, I don't know what to do, because I never encountered this. I never was taught to deal with this. So I think that just goes to show the growth that Araujo probably had during this time off, where he was dealing with professionals and psychologists or psychiatrists or whomever he had seen, because learning how to deal with bad situations is probably more important than avoiding them altogether, or just as important, because eventually you will come across a bad situation and you have to be equipped to deal with it. Otherwise, it could be bad. But anyways, those are the words of Araujo. I hope you learned something from him. And that is, if you take anything out of today's podcast, forget everything else. Forget the news about the Super League and Hamza Abdelkarim and Rafinha and Rashford's injury and everything else. If you take anything from me blabbering for an hour, is that mental health is important. If you're feeling down, ask for help. Whomever it be. It could be your family, your friends, professionals, whomever. Ask for help. It's okay not to be okay. That doesn't make you any less of a man or any less of a strong person. It doesn't make you a little bitch or a pussy or whatever they want to call you. It's okay not to be okay. That's all I want to say. Let's do some comments and then we'll end this, because I do have to be done by 8:55. So we got 4 minutes. Let's do more comments and shit with another donation. Let's make it go. Donation says, I'm tired. Shit says, in my civilian job, sometimes I miss having been in the military where I got every single holiday off. First world problems. Man, I guess that is first world problems. Well, thank you for your service, my friend. I did not know you were in the military. Thank you for your service. And yes, days off are amazing. They're actually very important for mental health because work cannot be all, right? We also need some time off, spend with our loved ones, with our dogos, watching Barca matches, even though I feel like that's bad for your mental health. Well, no, actually, it's been good for mental health to watch Barca. Maybe not during a Xavi era, but now I feel like, yes, it's good for our mental health. Barca Mama says, this club and this podcast bring people from all walks of life together. It is an amazing community. They are wonderful extensions of this beautiful game. Thank you, Barca Mama. And yes, I agree. I think we do have an amazing community, whether it be the Barca community or the Barca News community. I think we have the best YouTube community. Sure, every now and then we have some psycho who says negative shit. But overall, I think we have amazing people from all around the world. And we're all here to share, our love, our passion for this crazy sport. Who would have thought that kicking a ball around would drive so much passion in us, right? But I love it, and I couldn't have it any other way. So thank you guys for being part of this amazing community. After all, what makes it amazing is you guys, right? Otherwise, like I always say, without you guys, I'm just a crazy guy screaming at his camera. Seregoa says, I love my club despite all problems, still supports his player 100%. And Barcelona says 988 in the US if you need mental health help. Ask anyone for help. 988. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. I did not know that 988 is a number. I guess it's like the equivalent of 911, but for mental health. Thank you, Barcelona, for sharing that. So yes, people, 988. Pretty easy to remember. 988. If you need help, ask for it. Messi Super Ballon d'Or says, I'm here from Rivaldo era. Let's go. And I'll go through everything with my club, even Braithwaite. Oh, man. You guys remember Braithwaite? My goodness. I can't believe those were some dark times. Can you imagine? Our starting center forward at one point was freaking Braithwaite. That's insane. That's freaking insane. I can't believe we actually witnessed that. Like sometimes, sometimes you think about the pandemic, you're like, wow, I can't believe I lived through that. Like we're like total lockdown, not people not going out. It was crazy. Thinking about how Braithwaite was our center forward is also crazy. Obviously not as crazy because, a pandemic, after all, it did take a lot of lives. But, sometimes I do think about like, wow, Braithwaite was our center forward. That's how low we went. Like, that's crazy. But anyways, I've been around since the Ronaldinho era. That's when I became a Barca fan. I was a little kid, and Ronaldinho was my favorite player. But the Rivaldo era, I wish I was a fan back then. I was too young. But I do watch, highlights and rewatch matches from that era. And Rivaldo, man. What a guy. I mean, I used to watch him with Brazil, just not with Barcelona. Anyways, let's do one more comment and then we'll be done. My psychedelic says, been watching football since 2006 and supporting Barca since 2009. I cannot believe it's been 2 decades now. Time flies, my friends. Time flies. This is why it's important to have fun because next thing you know, it's all gone by in a flash. Anyways, that is all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, your donations. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. And of course, drop a comment if you're watching this once it ends, letting me know your thoughts and opinions about everything we talked about today. Thank you again. And as always, now and forever, Viscarsa.